I, female, 19, just found out my dad, male 44, completely emptied out my college fund to pay for my stepbrother's tuition, and I'm literally shaking while typing this. Okay, so some background. Sorry, this is going to be long. My parents got divorced 5 years ago after my mom caught my dad cheating with Diane, female 38, who's now his wife. My mom ended up moving like 2 hours away for this job opportunity, and even though she wanted me to come with her, I decided to stay with my dad because I didn't want to leave all my friends during high school and start over somewhere new. I see my mom like once a month, sometimes less if she's busy with work. We're close, but not as close as we used to be, I guess. At first, things with Diane were actually pretty good. She really tried to bond with me and everything. She spent time helping me get ready for junior prom and even bought me this hair clip that matched my dress. But then everything changed when her son Ethan, male, 19, moved in 3 years ago. He got kicked out of his dad's house for constantly breaking curfew and other stuff. I don't know the whole story. Ethan and I have this weird relationship where sometimes we actually get along really well, but most of the time he acts super entitled and treats our house like it's a hotel. He leaves his crap everywhere, and my dad and Diane never say anything about it. I've been working at this coffee shop since I was 16, and I save all my tips. I'm pretty responsible with money, I think, and decided to go to community college to save money even though my grades were decent enough for a 4-year school. The plan was always to transfer to state after finishing my core requirements. So here's where everything went to shit. I was filling out the financial aid forms to transfer to state for next fall, and there's this section about existing college funds. My paternal grandparents, Harold and Margaret, both 72, set up this college fund for me when I was born. It was like $75,000 that had grown over the years with interest and stuff. I always knew it was there, but I never checked it much because I wasn't using it yet and was trying to be responsible by doing community college first. My dad was always super enthusiastic about my financial planning, and I thought it was because he was proud of me for being responsible. Looking back, he was probably just relieved I wasn't immediately using the college fund. So I logged into the account to get the current balance for the financial aid form, and there was only $3,200 left. $3,000 from what should have been like $80K plus by now. I honestly felt like I was going to throw up. I checked all the withdrawal history, and there were these regular withdrawals going back over a year. I was literally hyperventilating. I confronted my dad as soon as he got home from work. I was trying to stay calm, but I was shaking. I asked him about the missing money from my college fund, and he had the audacity to act confused at first, like he didn't know what I was talking about. So I showed him the statement on my phone, and his face just dropped. He got all defensive and was like, "I've been meaning to talk to you about this," which is such bullshit because he's had a year to talk to me about it. When I asked where the money went, he kept avoiding the question until I basically cornered him, and he finally admitted he borrowed it. His exact word, borrowed, like it's something he's going to pay back, to pay for Ethan's tuition at Prestige University. I asked why Ethan didn't have his own college fund, and apparently his bio dad never contributed to one. And I was like, that sucks for Ethan, but how is that my problem? That money was specifically for my education. My grandparents set it up for me. And you know what my dad said? He said, "You're just at community college anyway. Like, my education doesn't matter as much as Ethan's." As if I didn't specifically choose community college to be responsible with money. I'm literally so furious thinking about it again. I can't even. I asked him how he could even legally access the account, and he got all awkward and explained he was the custodian, so technically he could withdraw the funds. When I asked if my grandparents knew about this, he quickly said, "There's no need to involve them," and tried to change the subject. So they definitely don't know. He kept saying he'd figure something out, but had zero actual plans for how he's going to replace my money that he stole. Because let's be real, that's what happened. He stole from me to give to Ethan. Thanksgiving at my grandparents' is in 3 days, and the whole extended family will be there. I'm so conflicted about what to do. Part of me wants to tell my grandparents everything, because they would absolutely flip out if they knew what happened to the money they set aside for me. But I've never been the type to cause family drama, even though I'm literally thinking about causing exactly that right now. I know. The worst part is Ethan has been super nice to me lately, offering to drive me places and bringing me coffee from work. I thought maybe he was just being nice, but now I'm wondering if he knows where his tuition money came from and feels guilty. Does he? Now I can't stop thinking about whether he knows. I haven't told anyone about this yet, not even my mom. I'm seriously considering just blurting everything out at Thanksgiving dinner. Is that too nuclear? My entire future education plan was built around having that money. Now what am I supposed to do? Edit. Wow, this blew up while I was at work. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, I'm 100% sure my grandparents don't know. My grandfather would literally disown my dad if he knew. They're very serious about education, and this fund was their gift to me. 2. For those asking why I don't just call my grandparents now, I'm honestly scared of the fallout. Once I tell them, there's no going back. My dad will know it was me who told them. 3. Several people asked about my mom. She doesn't have much money. She's doing okay, but definitely can't afford to replace what was taken. 4. To the person who asked if this is even legal, I don't know. He was the custodian of the account, so technically he could access it. But it was clearly intended for my education. Now for the first update. So it's been a few days since I found out my dad basically stole my entire college fund to pay for my stepbrother's fancy university tuition. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Things at home have been really uncomfortable. My dad has been avoiding me completely, leaving for work an hour earlier than he needs to, and coming home way later. When we are in the same room, he barely makes eye contact and keeps finding excuses to leave. I mean, I get why he's avoiding me, but it's still making me feel like I'm the one who did something bad, which is so messed up. The worst part was 3 nights ago when Diane, my stepmom, cornered me in the kitchen. It was like 10 p.m. and I had just gotten home from my closing shift at the coffee shop. I was starving and just wanted to make a sandwich and go to bed. Anyway, I was making my sandwich and Diane walks in. She asked if I was still upset about that money situation. Like she's talking about me overdrafting my account by $20 or something. Not my dad stealing $70,000 plus from me. I told her it's not a situation, it's theft. She sighed and told me I need to understand how families work now that we're blended and how we all need to support each other. I told her taking my college fund that my grandparents set up for me isn't blending, it's stealing. She said Ethan got into his dream school and deserved that opportunity, and they just wanted to support him. I asked if Ethan even knows where his tuition money came from. The way she hesitated before answering told me everything. She just said we're all family now, so what does it matter where it came from? I asked if she would have taken money from Ethan to give to me. She got flustered and said that's completely different. I just stared at her, waiting for her to explain how it was different, but she couldn't. Then she started saying how my father works so hard for this family, and I told her it wasn't his money to give. It was mine. My grandparents gave it to me. She basically called me selfish and dramatic, and I had to leave the room before I said something I'd regret. The next day, Ethan texted me asking if we could talk, and I thought maybe he found out and felt bad. But no, he just wanted to borrow my car this weekend because his is in the shop. I said no. Oh, and here's another thing that's making me so angry. My dad and Diane went shopping for new clothes for Ethan to make a good impression at Thanksgiving with my grandparents. They spent like $200 on a new sweater and pants for him. And when I mentioned needing something to wear, Diane suggested I just wear what I wore last year. I cannot with these people right now. I've had thoughts about slashing my dad's tires or dumping Diane's perfume collection down the drain. I never thought I could feel this kind of anger toward my own father. It's scary how much I hate him right now. So Thanksgiving is tomorrow at my grandparents' house, and they have this tradition where everyone has to share something they're grateful for and something they've accomplished this year. I was planning to announce my transfer to State University, which now isn't happening because I can't afford it. I have no idea what I'm going to say instead. Last night, I finally cornered my dad in the hallway and asked if he's told my grandparents about the college fund. He got this panicked look and quickly said there's nothing to tell them. He claimed he's working on a plan to replace the money. When I asked for details about this supposed plan, he started mumbling vague stuff about investments and opportunities coming up. It was such obvious bullshit. I pointed out he's had weeks to come up with an actual plan, and he got defensive, saying he doesn't need to justify himself to his teenage daughter. I reminded him I'm 19 and legally an adult, and he dismissed that by saying I'm still a child in many ways, which made me want to scream. I asked him directly if Ethan knows where his tuition comes from, and my dad wouldn't even look at me. He muttered, "It's complicated," which I'm pretty sure means Ethan does know and has known all along. So everyone's been lying to me. Great. I've decided to drive myself to Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow instead of riding with my dad, Diane, and Ethan. I need the space to think, and honestly, I might need to make a quick getaway, depending on how things go. The whole drive to my grandparents and Yomaitsingulantim or Wetswamvings, I know I'll be rehearsing what to say to them. Part of me is still trying to convince myself to stay quiet for the sake of family harmony or whatever. But another part of me knows I can't keep this secret. It's my future that's being destroyed. I just got a text from my dad saying, please don't make a scene tomorrow and that we're family and can work this out, which is making me even more determined to tell my grandparents everything. Sorry this got so long. I'll update after Thanksgiving to let you all know what happened. I'm honestly terrified about tomorrow. Now for the second update. So a lot has happened since my last post about my dad stealing my college fund to pay for my stepbrother's tuition. Like a lot. Thanksgiving was, well, it exploded, basically. We have this tradition where we all eat at my grandparents' house, my dad's parents, and it's always this whole fancy thing. My grandma Margaret only uses her fancy china twice a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Anyway, I drove myself to dinner instead of going with my dad and Diane and Ethan like I mentioned I would in my last post. The first half of dinner was just this weird, tense normal, if that makes sense. My dad was avoiding looking at me at all costs. Diane was basically dominating the conversation, talking about how amazing Ethan is doing at Prestige University, using my money, but whatever, and Ethan was being weirdly quiet. My cousin Jess kept giving me these looks that I thought were like, wow, Emma's just at community college, what a loser, but I realized later she could just tell something was wrong. I never actually intended to cause a scene at dinner. But also, I rehearsed what I was going to say like 15 times in my car on the drive over, so like, clearly, part of me was planning something. So we're eating, and everything is tense but fine, and then my grandpa Harold asks me about my transfer applications to four-year schools, and I just froze. My dad suddenly became super interested in his mashed potatoes. My grandma said they were proud of the college fund they set up for me and how it must give me so many options now. I felt my eyes tear up. I put my fork down because I just couldn't pretend anymore. My dad immediately tried to change the subject to my Uncle Jim's boat, but my grandpa said he wanted to hear about my plans first in that quiet, serious voice he uses when he's not messing around. I took this deep breath and told them there was something they should know about my college fund. My dad tried to cut me off, saying it wasn't the time in this weird, fake, cheerful voice that was so obvious. My grandma took my hand and asked what was wrong. I told them the college fund only had $3,200 left in it because my dad took almost all of it. Everyone went silent. Everyone was just staring at my dad. My grandpa got really quiet and asked my dad to explain. My dad started stammering about temporary reallocation of resources and family priorities and other complete bullshit. I had printed out all those bank statements showing the withdrawals, thanks to whoever suggested that in my last post, and I just took them out and put them on the table. They exactly lined up with when Ethan's tuition would be due. Ethan looked genuinely shocked and asked if this was true, which makes me think maybe he actually didn't know. I don't know. Diane tried to defend my dad, saying some BS about how we're a family now and we share resources, and my grandpa just lost it. He said that fund was explicitly for my education and not for anyone else. My dad kept saying he always intended to replace it, but couldn't explain how or when. My grandma asked how long this had been happening, and when I said over a year, my grandpa's hand started shaking as he put down his wine glass. Then my grandma asked everyone except me and my grandparents to leave the dining room. My dad tried to argue, but my grandpa gave him this look and he shut up real fast. Diane complained about dramatic family theatrics as they left. I wanted to throw my water in her face so bad. As Ethan walked past my chair, he whispered, "I didn't know." And honestly, I think I believe him, which makes this whole thing even more messed up. Once everyone left, my grandparents broke down. My grandpa called his attorney right there on Thanksgiving evening. His attorney is also his college roommate, and they're super close. My grandma just kept hugging me and apologizing like it was somehow her fault. I ended up spending the night in my old bedroom at their house. They've kept it exactly the same from when I used to have sleepovers there as a kid. I even found my old journal from 8th grade still in the nightstand drawer. Oh my freaking God, the cringe when I read a few pages. I was obsessed with this boy named Tyler who literally never knew I existed, lol. When I woke up the next morning, I had 31 missed calls. 31. 14 from my dad, 8 from Diane, 3 from my grandparents who had gone out early, 5 from various family members who were at dinner, and 1 from Ethan. My Aunt Susan called, and at first I thought she was mad at me for causing a scene, but she was actually calling to see if I was okay and to tell me she was proud of me for standing up for myself. That made me cry all over again. My grandparents left me a voicemail asking me to meet them at their attorney's office that afternoon. I was freaking out the whole way there. The attorney's office was intimidating with all wood paneling and leather chairs. My grandpa introduced me to Attorney Williams, and my grandma explained they'd been making some necessary adjustments. This is what they decided. 1. They've completely removed my dad from their $1 mail to estate. Like completely. I started to say that seemed extreme, and I felt guilty, but my grandpa said this wasn't just about the money, but about how my dad betrayed their trust. 2. They created a new $100K college fund for me in some kind of trust format that my dad cannot access under any circumstances. 3. They're going to pay for an apartment near whatever university I choose to transfer to. I was completely overwhelmed. I didn't expect them to do all that. The attorney gave me all this documentation about the new arrangements, and I had to sign some papers with my hands literally shaking the whole time. My grandma hugged me and said my education was always their priority, and I lost it again. When I went back to my dad's house to pack some of my stuff, no one was home. But my dad left me a note basically accusing me of manipulating my grandparents for money and destroying the family. I noticed Diane had already started measuring my room to convert it to a home office. There was a tape measure on my desk and furniture catalogs on my bed. They clearly weren't expecting me to come back. The family fallout has been insane. My dad has been calling relatives, claiming I exaggerated everything to get money from my grandparents. Diane has been posting these vague Facebook statuses about ungrateful children and gold diggers. Some of my aunts and uncles are taking my dad's side, but most of them are supporting me. I keep saying I'm completely at peace with my decision, but honestly, I've cried myself to sleep every night wondering if I went too far. But then I remember, he is the one who stole from me. The weirdest thing happened yesterday. Ethan called me. He apologized and said he had suspicions about where his tuition money was coming from, but ignored them because he didn't want to lose his spot at his dream school. At first, I thought he was just trying to secure his own position with my grandparents or something, but I think he genuinely feels caught in the middle and guilty. So now, I'm living in this temporary apartment my grandparents are paying for until I figure out where I'm transferring to. My applications are back on track, and I'm trying to focus on school. I haven't spoken directly to my dad since Thanksgiving, despite his messages. They started angry, but now they're getting more desperate and pleading. I'm thinking about just going low contact until he acknowledges what he did was wrong. This whole thing feels like a mixed victory. Like, yes, my education is secure now thanks to my grandparents, but my family is completely fractured. My dad basically hates me. Diane is spreading rumors about me, and half the extended family is taking sides. But I guess I'm just focusing on moving forward with my grandparents' support. They've been amazing through all of this. Thank you for reading.